Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah, and today's video is going to be the start of a new vlog. Today is February 1st, and I just wanted to quickly introduce the vlog. I'm outside on my walk for my lunch break, and it's so beautiful out that I figured I would take advantage of it and do a quick intro. I've been bringing my tripod with me lately so that I can try to film while I'm outside. That's a woodpecker. And I don't know if you can hear that or not. For this month in general, I'm going to be celebrating Black History Month. And one way that I like to do that is to read from some new Black authors that I've never read from before. And the book I just started today is called The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. And this will be my first book that I've ever read by her. And I'm listening to, I do have the physical copy, but I decided to try out the audio version as well because it is narrated by her. So the story is told by a 9-year-old Black girl who befriends this older girl named Percola. I think she's around 11, and its setting is in the United States around the 1940s or so. This book talks about wishing that you were someone that you're not, and the damage that it does to yourself and your culture when you're wishing that you can look like someone that you're not, and the devastating effects that perception of feminine beauty has on the world, and accepting yourself for who you are or not accepting yourself for who you are, and the devastating effects that comes with it. And I know this book has a ton of trigger warnings, so I'm bracing myself for that. I just got done reading a really emotional book, The Only Plane in the Sky, an oral history of 9/11, and before that I also read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this okay. But I know there's going to be some tough stuff in there. But right away, right off the bat, the prologue, the way it was read, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the way, I'm sure I looked in the physical copy as well, but it's the way it's written and the way it's read is so chilling to me. I don't know why. I feel like it's foreshadowing some bad things that are going to happen, but right away, I just know that this book is beautifully written. The prose is absolutely beautiful. I already want to highlight and tab things that stand out to me in terms of just gorgeous writing and descriptions. So I'm about almost an hour into it already, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to be talking about this a bit within the vlog. And I also hope to start a few other books. I'm participating in Historathon, so I have 2 books ongoing for that. One is called Eve, How the Female Body Has Shaped Evolution. And this one's really interesting, very interesting. I couldn't get the audio version yet, but I'm reading through it, and it's really fantastic. And then I'm still working through Cleopatra as well. I kind of put that a little bit on hold until I finish Eve. But those are the 2 books that I'm kind of that I have going right now. So, and hope you guys are having a great start to your reading month as well. So I'm out in the woods again just for a quick walk, and I just want to show you how pretty it looks. The sun is shining today. I feel like we haven't had sun in like 2 weeks, so it just, you notice the difference when the sun comes back out. But I found this really cute little spot here in between these 2 trees, and I have a little time. It's Sunday today. I have to go to the grocery store in about half an hour. But I thought I'd sit down and read for a little while. It's so peaceful back here with the sound of the creek right there. This is a pretty big hill that I'm on. You can kind of see where it cuts off down there. But just the sound of the water is really relaxing. And I've got my snow pants on, and I'm all bundled up, and I brought my Kindle out with me. So one of the books that I've been wanting to read for a couple months now came in through my library holds. It's called The Atlas of the Heart, I think, by Brené Brown. And I got this book a few weeks ago as audio, but I just couldn't get into it. I thought that maybe it would work better as a physical read, so I was waiting for the ebook, and it finally came in. So I'm going to sit down and just read a little bit of that. I'm still going strong with The Bluest Eye. This is a pretty short audiobook, and I'm about 25% through so far. And it's so good. It's so good. The writing is absolutely beautiful. It's hard to read. It's hard to read about a child just having such a hard time in life and thinking that if her eyes were blue or if she was white, that all of her problems would be fixed. It's so sad. It's really an emotional read so far, and I can see why, this is just such an amazing book. But it has a lot of different themes going on. Our main character is, the family, they're always worried about homelessness, about experiencing that feeling of no longer being able to afford your home. And, it's interesting because their first and foremost worry isn't even the racism that's going on. It's the fear of homelessness and stuff. So, yeah, it's such a good read so far. I'm really enjoying it. But, yeah, so I'm going to sit down and read for a little while, and then I have to, carry on with the chores of the weekend. So I just grabbed the little SD card from the trail camera, which is over there, and it looks like I might have caught a few things, mostly deer, but I'll put the footage again at the end of the video if you're interested in seeing. I think it's so fun. I love to see what I can capture out here. It's, it's just fun. Okay, my wildlife friends, what do you think this track is right here? It's like snake-like, but it's obviously not a snake in the middle of winter. There's these tracks here which are kind of close together that you can see more distinct footprints. Oh no, I'm stumped. Interesting. It's supposed to get pretty warm this coming week, like into the 40s Fahrenheit, which is really warm for February. I'm hoping we get a little bit more snow. I'm not ready for winter to be over, to be honest. I love it. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a little bit more before the winter's done. Hey guys, just checking in. It is February 7th. I want to just catch you guys up on some books that I've been reading, a couple more books I got from the library. I can't resist, but anyway. So I am a little over halfway through The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and this book is absolutely amazing. I think that the audio experience of listening to this is, here we go. The audio experience is really wonderful. I love her voice, and it's almost hypnotic how she reads her prose, that I'm just constantly thinking like, gosh, this writing is so beautiful. I mean, it's the subject matter she's talking about is so difficult, but the way that she words it and the language she puts these experiences is absolutely stunning. So we're following multiple perspectives. We're following multiple point of views. We're mainly following the young narrator, Claudia, who is 9 years old. She has an older sister named Frida, who's 11, and they're friends with another girl named Piccola, who is kind of the main protagonist in the story that we're following. And right off the bat, in the prologue itself, we know that something horrible happens to Piccola. So we know that off the bat. So that has been foreshadowed. We know it going into the story, but we're not there yet. So knowing that in the background and learning about Piccola and her story and her struggle with this obsession she has in whiteness, and especially the eye color, blue eyes. She wishes and wishes that she would wake up with blue eyes, and she thinks that will solve all her problems and she'll have an easier life. And this book is really hard to read because first of all, reading about a child that is going through so many struggles within her life and being treated so poorly by the people around her because of her race, because of what she looks like, being treated the way her parents treat her. Her father is this drunk, like horrible man, and her mother is so distant, and her mother's obsession with whiteness as well, and her mother's job as a housekeeper in an affluent white neighborhood is taking over, just creating this toxic environment for this poor child to grow up in. And there's just thing after thing that keeps happening to her, and we're seeing it through the eyes of this 9-year-old friend, and we're seeing sort of this overview narrator that's telling us what happens. But another thing that I really love about this book is that we are also leaning into the perspectives of Picola's parents, who, without this perspective, they would seem like these monsters. But we're seeing kind of their backstory and how they grew up and how that formed them into being who they are, and kind of giving some reason to why their actions are. And it doesn't make it acceptable, but it makes it human. And these characters are so flawed, and I can't believe this is her first book, first of all. This is her first novel, and I'm going to be reading everything this woman has written because I just cannot get over how beautiful the writing is and how harrowing the story is and the way she is deciding to tell it. So I am loving this book. I know there's more awfulness to come, but again, her writing style and the beauty and poetic nature of her prose is really keeping me hooked. And it's just making me appreciate the story and language without focusing too much on the difficult things to read within the book. So absolutely loving this. Absolutely loving this. Now on to Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart. I'm reading that on my Kindle, and it's going so much better than the original way I tried to read it, which was via audio. I just couldn't get on with the audio narrator, which is her, unfortunately, but the ebook is going much better. So I'm not going to lie, the intro to this book was a bit of a struggle to get through. I almost thought I was going to DNF this because the intro is a bit memoir-ish, and she's kind of jumping around telling these random little stories about how she grew up and how she kind of got interested in language and what her career is. And looking back now, I can see that's interesting, but I think starting out with the book, it wasn't what I expected, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. And this is my first experience with Brené Brown. I don't know her at all from anything that she's done, but I guess she's pretty influential, and she has a very popular TED Talk on YouTube, which I'll have to check out. But yeah, now that I'm into the book and I'm understanding kind of what she's talking about, I am finding it pretty interesting. So the book is an exploration into, I want to say, something like 80 plus emotions that we experience as humans, and it gives you the language to describe what the emotions are. So it kind of helps you figure out a way to understand yourself and to feel like how you're feeling. And a great example that I can think of right off the bat is when she talks about the differences between jealousy and envy. And I thought that was really interesting. So if you're a fan of language and etymology, all you Babel fans out there, right? I think you might like this because I am learning a bit about how language works and how we choose to use certain phrases and terms to describe our human experiences. That may not be beneficial for many people, but I think if you're trying to do a deep dive exploration or trying to understand yourself a little bit better, if you're a very highly emotional person and you go through a range of emotions pretty knee-jerky, it's interesting. So it's enough to keep me engaged in the book. I'm really finding it to be something interesting. I don't know if it's anything that's like life-changing or the psychology around it, if it's blowing me away. Not like, for example, The Body Keeps the Score and that approach to emotions and psychology. That was, quite a level above in terms of my interest level, but I do think it's interesting and I am enjoying it so far. So I am maybe 20% through the book for this. But I have the major critiques I've heard about this book is that some people feel like it reads kind of like a dictionary. interesting to note that. So I talked a little bit in my intro about Eve, how the female body has driven 600 million years of evolution. I can never remember the subtitle. So that was going well. I got through the first chapter about milk and the lactation and all that stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I'm finding that the writing is really nice and it's informative. It's narrative nonfiction, so I feel like it's not overly academic, so I'm enjoying it. But that was due back to the library, so I returned it, and I am going to buy the physical copy because I really want to read the rest of it, and I want to have it in my collection. So that's on hold. I don't know if I'll get to that through the rest, definitely not for the rest of the vlog. Cleopatra, I'm also going to pick that back up because that is my Historathon. It was my original Historathon pick, so I would like to get back into that. And I got my physical copy, which it's not in here right now, but I think I'm going to enjoy reading this a lot more than I did listening to it because I just couldn't focus. But it was so interesting and I really was enjoying it. So I'll get back into that. But I am doing a lot of reading through Clarissa, which has been great. The story has picked up and I am just like, ugh, I just want her to be okay. And there's so many like, is she going to be okay? She's not. We know the story. It's tragic, but I'm just like, I want something to work out for her, but I'm so happy I've gotten back into this more, and I'm, hoping that there's an end in sight that I will finish it. Not this month, maybe next month or April. So I'll check in soon. So it's another beautiful day here on the farm, out on my lunch break walk as usual, and I wanted to do a very quick update. So I finished The Bluest Eye, and that was such a good book. It was so good. It was a very emotional story. It was one where things don't work out as you hope they do, but it was just a really good look, I guess, about the toxic effects of what presumed societal beauty can do to the population of people or young girls that don't see themselves in this conventional beauty, and how the multi-generational effects of that has on a young child, and how everything trickles down onto her. And it was just like, it was a beautiful story. I mean, not beautiful in the sense of like I liked the outcome. It was just beautifully told. I think Toni Morrison's writing is exceptionally beautiful to me. I'm not an expert in classics at all. Like, I'm just getting into them now in my 40s, but this book really stood out to me in terms of how beautiful the prose was and how she constructed the story. And I can't believe it was her first book, and she did such a great job on this. It was just a really harrowing story and an important one, I thought. And I loved the book. I absolutely loved it, even though it was really difficult to read. I just feel like stories like this help me to become a more compassionate person and to understand perspectives and just a different type of experience that I haven't had. I really, really enjoyed it. So let's see, what else have I started? I started Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier I first started it as audio, but that wasn't quite working for me. It was too detailed. The writing's really nice, and I felt like I was missing too much while listening to it, doing other things. So I switched over to the ebook, and that's been going really well. I'm about 20% into that book so far, and it's really interesting. Some things that stand out right away is it's an unsettling feeling. We never get the heroine's name. She remains unnamed, and we're to like 25% into the book, or I'm 25% into the book, and I still don't know her name. We're not given her exact age, so that's annoying me because I like details. I like to know details, but I know it's intentional. You can see this strange dynamic between her and Mr. De Winter, it's a strange type of love. She's so young and naive, and there's already some really creepy foreshadowing into her jealousy, which is really interesting. I have no idea what this story really is about, or, I really haven't read much or listened to many people's reviews of it. So I'm assuming it's going to be a struggle with her jealousy towards the original wife, Rebecca. And I feel like things are going to go down, and I'm excited to see that. I also started my next audiobook called Eloquent Rage. A Black feminist discovers her superpower. And this is by Brittany Cooper. This is really good. I'm flying through this. It's so interesting. I love her writing style. She narrates it. She narrates her own audiobook, and it's really good. I mean, I love the way she speaks, and I love her pronunciations and her tone of voice and the melodic inflection she puts as she's reading. And it's keeping me engaged. It's very narrative nonfiction. It's basically a collection of essays talking about intersectional feminisms and her experience, and her diving into the feminist theory of some of these ideas, but sprinkling it with her own experiences. And I'm finding it just so interesting, and she's so smart, and she really knows what she's talking about, and a lot of the things are resonating with me that she's saying. And it's just a really interesting exploration into feminism, but from a Black woman's perspective, because I think the experiences with feminism I've usually had have just been amongst white women. So I'm really appreciating learning more from her perspective, and I'm really enjoying it. So those are the 3 books that I'm actively working on. I'm picking my way through Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King. I read the first 2 stories and really enjoyed both of them, so that's ongoing. Clarissa, of course. So those are the books. Just wanted to give you an update. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to film my final reading update for this vlog. It's Wednesday morning. I have the day off, so I got outside really early to catch this beautiful sunlight that comes in at an angle, which, this time of year, sometimes I don't see it as often as I would like to. But yeah, just as a quick update to wrap up the vlog, I forgot to mention one book that I was talking about in the beginning of the vlog. I ended up DNFing, and this was the Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. And this one, I thought the premise was really interesting, and originally I got the audiobook. It just didn't work for me. It was something about, I don't really know. It was something about her coming across through the narration that was a little off-putting, or I couldn't really focus on it. It was something that didn't quite work. So I switched over to the ebook. And I think ultimately this is a book that is probably best enjoyed as a physical book, something that you can put down and pick up at different intervals and read about the different emotions. Because for me, I was just trying to read it, on my Kindle each day, and it just felt like information overload. It explores each emotion. It gives you a definition. It talks about the differences. Often it's comparing 2 similar emotions like jealous and envy, or frustration and anger, that kind of thing. And it just kind of felt a little bit like, I've seen other people refer to it as kind of reading a dictionary, which I can see that. One thing that I just couldn't really vibe with was that she would kind of plug a lot of her older books within it. She'd say things like, as I mentioned in my previous book, blah, 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 or she'd plug like a lot of her friends or colleagues' books. And so that it just kept distracting me. So I think that it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. I don't know Brené Brown. I've never heard of her before picking up this book, so I don't have any kind of experience of her, even though I know a lot of people enjoy her. So I think if you generally enjoy Brené Brown, you might really enjoy this. It's just, for me, if I find the physical book, I would love to flip through it and read it that way, but it wasn't working for right now. So I did DNF that. I'm very proud of myself. I don't often DNF books. So that was that one. What else? I'm just trying to remember, because it's been over a week since I've vlogged. So I'm still reading Rebecca, and that's going really well. It's a lot slower than I thought. I'm about 35% in, and not a lot of things are going on or happening. And what I am noticing about this narrator, it's told in the first person point of view. She's extremely young. She's very insecure. She's obsessing over the previous wife, Rebecca. She's starting to be braver and start to ask more questions. She's very obsessed with the fact that Rebecca was very beautiful and good at a lot of things, and she feels very inadequate. And you can kind of see this jealousy rising in her. So I'm curious where the story's going, if she's going to end up being some kind of crazy villain. I think the premise makes you feel as though Rebecca's the villain or the ghost. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm like really enjoying my time with it. I'm not picking it up as much as I would like to because I'm reading so many different things, but it's keeping my interest pretty well. Another thing I notice about the main character is that she has a very vivid imagination. She talks about she recreates these scenes in her head, sort of like a parallel reality of what could happen if she did this. So she's very imaginative, and I'm noticing that off the bat. So we're learning more about the housekeeper. Oh, what's her name? The very stern housekeeper who's, I'm trying to figure out if she really is this menacing villain or if it's just in the narrator's head. So I think this is going to have a lot of nice psychological elements that I'm going to enjoy. So really enjoying Rebecca. The writing's great. So I'm physically reading that I have to read it on my phone because I'm just so cheap. I don't want to buy a copy yet until I'm done, and I can't get it through Kindle. So yeah, I'm reading that on my phone, which isn't the best experience. I think that's about it. It's a very slow going process. I'm moving much quicker through Clarissa, which I'm really enjoying. It's picked up some pace. The plot has gotten really a lot more interesting. So I'm just amazed by the story of Clarissa. It's so intricate and so detailed and such a look into the psyche of, the situation that they're in. I'll talk more about that in my other vlog I'm doing for Clarissa. And then let's see, Cleopatra's going well. I'm reading a little bit of that here and there. Very interesting. Cleopatra, though, is weird because it's not really told in any kind of chronological order. So it's flipping around to different times. I'm not like getting a good rhythm into the book yet, but I just feel like we're never going to really know who she really was or what she was really like because of the biases against women at that time. Maybe, if that makes sense. John David did a really interesting, I liked his review of it in his 2023 books wrap up, and that totally resonated and made sense with me on, as I'm reading this, I'm seeing what he's saying a little bit with that. But I'm enjoying it, and just a slow reading couple weeks I've had. I'm just not finding a lot of things that are working well on audio. I have started Fledgling by Octavia Butler. I'm only like a couple pages into that. The audio is working so far, so hoping to get through that one. So that's my reading update. The beginning was a bit stronger in terms of what I finished and what I read, but that's my update for this month. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of the wonderful new subscribers that have joined my channel and all of my older subscribers who have been here for a while. It really means a lot to me, and this is what makes it fun for me. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys soon in my next video. Hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and take care.